Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of CTO Confidential. I'm here with Oshri Cohen, who is also a fractional CTO, just like myself. And we had already just gotten started before the episode, and I figured we got to hit the record button because we're touching on so much because our business has changed dramatically. And one thing that's very cool is that as I am a fractional CTO running an agency, Oshri was also doing the same thing. And we've kind of been following each other for quite some time. And so I would love to hear, let's take it back before we dive into the where things are today. I'd love to just talk about your origin story, how you got into tech, the start of your agency, and then kind of transition us to where we are today. I'd love to hear kind of just that, just to give our listeners the background.
The CTO role is quite possibly the most misunderstood role in the industry. That was 2 years ago, right? Maybe 3, 4 years ago. Nobody really knew what they wanted from a CTO. Did they want a developer? Did they want the architect? Did they want the product person? Did they want like it's one of those chameleon roles that is really hard to succeed in. It's like, it's like a VP of sales or a chief revenue officer, right? There's so many other aspects that impact the job that if that person is not a well-rounded business person, right? Businessman, businesswoman, whatever you want to call it, right? They're going to fail at this job. It's really difficult. And on top of that, they have to be technical. And on top of that, they have to be CPO, chief product officer level knowledge and experience because you're building product. Nobody gives, nobody gives a bleep about the tech. The engineering doesn't actually matter. It's irrelevant. Build the product first. That's the focus. So I started the whole fractional CTO thing, and it was great for a very long time. I loved it. Then I got too busy, so I spun out Red Corner. Had too many clients, right? Um, and then AI came. Then AI kicked our ass like hard, changed everything because now everybody can get their technical assessments directly in Claude or ChatGPT. ChatGPT, I mean, I don't know anyone who still uses that thing, but I still use it just to make memes at this point. That's it for editing
Actually
images.
switched. We could talk about that. I was all in on Claude, and now I've gone back to GPT 5.5, and I don't know, it'll take a mythos level event for me to come
Oh
back to
my
Claude.
gosh,
So we
no,
should talk
man,
about this.
no.
We
Them
should talk
fighting
about this.
words, Michael. Them
But
fighting words.
I fully expect that to change in a year from now. Like some random, like who knows? We could all be using Grok in a year. I don't know. Like,
A
SpaceX
year?
IPO. uh,
Three
I don't know.
months.
3 months, right? I don't know
You're
what's going to happen.
lucky. Listen, 6 months ago, I wouldn't trust AI to write my code ever.
Yep.
Now, if it isn't writing my code, I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yep.
That,
Yep.
that was
Yep.
six
Feels like
months
maybe I'm
ago.
building something stupid. That's it. It is
Yeah.
wild. I got pushed by a customer. I want to say a full year ago, almost maybe a year and a month ago, where they said, I want you to try and do this only with AI. And this was in the Claude Sonnet days.
Oh
And
God.
like within 3 months, I was like, you know what? You're right. Like I could fully see this, and it starts slow. It starts where you're using the chat and you're copy and pasting. Then I used to use Zed back then. Then I was letting the agent kind of do it. Then I went to Claude Code, and now again, a lot of review went into this. This was a very complicated product. It required, but by the time we were on Opus, everything was getting easier. And then here I am today using Codex. And I'm like, I trust it so much that I really won't. It's so funny. About 2 weeks ago, me and another developer, we were like, "What happened to Claude? It's going to crap." We were super pissed. We couldn't get our work done. So I'm starting to run local models. I'm using Olama. I'm trying Kimi out. This is what made my switch to GPT because I was like, "Oh my god, this is really good." But the one thing we didn't do was go back to handwriting the code. Like of all the options out there, we were like,
What
we
do you
will
mean
use a
handwriting the
lesser
code?
model.
Even glorified LLM backed autocomplete of Cursor, I would never do.
No.
Never. Like Cursor, for example, I can't use the damn thing because it forces me to work in one session. I don't want to work in one session. I want to work in 10 sessions. I want to
This is,
handle
yep.
10 tasks, three investigatory tasks, all of these things, all at the same time. That's what I want to do. That's it.
That's where I ended up picking up Tmux, which I didn't really wasn't like a big Tmux fan. I was always like an IDE kind of person, and then I was like, I think I need Tmux because I was running too many sessions, and now I like go through them, and I'd accidentally when I'm like using my keyboard to move, I would accidentally quit my terminal, and I'd be like, no. So Tmux kind of
Oh my
saved me
gosh,
from
that's the
that.
worst. That's the worst. That's the worst. This is
So
why I
I
like
actually, yeah,
working. I like working in Claude Code Desktop for certain things, right?
yeah, yeah,
For certain things because I'm like, well, at least it keeps my session, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
otherwise, yeah, you're
That was
working
it.
10 sessions, your battery dies, you're like, what the hell just happened? Oh no, our organic context window is what? 1,000 characters if we're lucky,
Yep,
maybe,
yep,
maybe 100 tokens. That's it.
yep.
Then I've got 10 million token context windows all operating all at the same time. I don't know what the hell's going on. Like
It's
that's just
really
what it
really
is.
true.
Yeah.
And I know like people are like, "Oh, do you not read the code?" I said, "Listen, I still read the code when I know the situations in which I'm going to need to take a look at what it's done."
Yeah, of course.
So like
Yeah.
you get this feel for your LLM, and I said even when I went from Claude to GPT, there was like a 1 week friction where I like had to learn the way, but I was subconsciously learning it. And I keep talking about this. I go, I couldn't teach you a course on this. I said, all you do is you subconsciously work with it and you start to realize, and now I can give it tasks and I go, I'm committing that because I know it got it already. I don't, that was easy enough that it would have gotten it and it's not super high risk, but it's amazing how quickly the trust grew from like not trusting this thing to, wait, this is the best thing that's ever happened to engineering.
But you know what? You got to tune it properly. Like my Claude cowork, the base instruction is you're an arse. You're going to challenge me on everything. If you agree with me, I will delete you. You know, don't agree with me. Only agree if I'm giving you the right information. And you know what? The work product output is so much better. It's so
Yeah,
much better,
this is
right? And my instruction set is like the Bible. It's
this
long.
is this is key. You won't need that as much. GPT does push like, so one thing that I noticed was the big difference between Claude and GPT is GPT would like authoritatively tell me that what it was doing was better than what. But I kind of liked that because I was like, there was like a moment where it like created all these modules and I was like, this doesn't make sense. Like, why do you like, for example, it was like a phone number component nested in a specific module. And I was like, that should be a visual helper. And it's like, oh, but it belongs. And I was like, no, 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 you can't see over the hedge. Do what I'm telling you. And then it'll do it. But I like that it does defend it. Whereas with Claude, I'd ask a question and it goes, oh, you're right. And I go, wait, I just asked a question. I didn't tell you to do. That was one of the big things that that I liked about switching to GPT was it was less likely to please, and it would realize that when I asked a question, sometimes I was really asking a question, like I want you to justify what you did because I can see why, but I want it, the same way I would work with a junior. It's like, hey, I'm reviewing your code. I don't know where your head was at when you did this, so tell me where your head was at when you did this.
Right. I had one of my engineers. I just got off of a major contract, right? 10 months in ed tech. And I had one of my engineers working on Claude Code, and we designed sub agents coming out of our ears. We had a sub agent for every framework, for every language, for every type of technical debt and architectural pattern. And then on top of that, I had a product manager sub agent. I had a director of engineering sub agent. I had a what's it called? I had a CTO sub agent, and you know what? Just for shits and giggles, I had a super CTO sub agent. I'm like, you're the super.
Wow.
I'm inventing roles now. Like I need a super CTO, and each one's job was to review the previous one. So I was burning tokens like it was nobody's business, but the work product was impeccable. It was
Right.
impeccable, and Claude Code on its own, fantastic. But I have to say, man, if anyone's using Claude Code, you gotta use Claude Code superpowers and the front end design plugins. The
Got
superpowers
it.
plugin is next level. It will
Okay.
question you nonstop, and it actually slows you down by a lot because it does an analysis and then it does a plan, right? So it does the
Hmm.
spec, and then after the spec, and you review the spec. You got to review this. You got to use like, yes, do everything, and that's it. And you got to actually read what it, scroll through it, whatever. You don't need to read everything,
You don't
but
got to read
that's
every
our
line.
job
Yeah,
now.
that.
That's our job
That's
now.
exactly it. That's
That's our job.
honestly too like as a fractional CTO, when you manage teams of developers, I never got nobody ever gives you a spec. You usually give them the ticket. They kind of give you a rough outline. I actually am like, these specs are really nice because now I can really see where you're going to go, and I can kind of interject like, wait, that's way off the wrong path.
Yeah.
Don't use that library. Don't use this service. I'm not looking to do that. So this type of, you never got such a, and the other thing, the other side of it, and this is like a blessing and a curse. What I'm finding is more and more clients are using Lovable to prototype instead of Figma, which I kind of prefer in some respect, because now I'm like, okay, you at least gave me a working version of what you're looking to do.
Oh man, Claude Design is
Or
kicking.
Claude Design, yeah, whatever they use,
Claude
they're.
Design, because you know what? If have you used Claude Design yet?
I have not used Claude Design yet. I have been,
So I handed it over my website that was built on Wix for the longest time.
mhm,
I was paying like $80 a month for
right,
Wix,
right.
right? Madness, right? But whatever. I'm like, I don't like my design. I've been trying to change my template on Wix. They're like, you have to delete your website and recreate everything. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I've got like 1,000 pages. The hell, man.
Right,
So
right, right.
so I had um, uh, Claude Design look at the website and say, you know what? I need to rebrand myself as a bespoke consultant and advisor, AI native and this and that. Claude Design, after like 20 minutes, gave me three options. I'm like, choose the one you like the most. I chose it, right? And then
Wow.
afterwards, I adjusted some of this. So I'm like, I'd like to see the blog, and I'd like to see this, and I'd like to see that. And then it has a button, hand over to Claude Code. And then you just copy the prompt. You go to Claude Code, you're like,
And it
do
goes.
this in Next.js and then deploy to Vercel. All right, bye. I'm going to gym. And then I continued the session on my phone at the
I
gym,
love it. I love it. I love it.
and
That's
it
that.
built
Well,
everything
this
out.
is
Like I rebuilt my website in one day. That's it. And like
it's amazing. Well,
4
that
hours.
was like,
Yeah.
I redesigned our website the same. I had a vision, so the difference was I knew what I wanted. I actually have a design background. One of the things that I think AI actually changed for me, because I remember earlier in my career, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be a designer or a developer, and so I was following like both paths and taking courses in both. And sometimes I would always look to take on design tasks at the different jobs that I worked. But at a certain point, I would be interviewing, and they're like, "No, we don't have a designer." There was no designer slash developer job. You had to pick one. So I just went down the software engineer path, and never really gave up on that. But then AI came out, and now everyone's like, well, now we do want people to do both. I was like, oh, this has been great for me, because now I'm like, that's what and I've gotten very good at describing what I want verbally. So you have to become a great writer. I think that's the biggest thing that you have to become better at, is
So
describing what you want a little better.
so what's interesting is the impact it's done across the entire software development value chain, right? Not the development process, the value chain itself. From an executive who's got an idea or a business case that they want to prove or KPIs they want to improve or something like that, they no longer need to request an analysis, right? They no longer need to do that. They can go
They
in
can
and
even
tap in,
hand They give
right?
you a prototype now. I said, that's actually what I kind of like, is like the CEO
Yeah.
will say, here's my replit, whatever it is, this is what I was thinking. And I'll look at it. Then I can look at their tech stat and I could say, actually, this totally fits in. I love that you did this already. These are the things I would change, right? Because a person with no technical background, as you probably already have seen, it's like it'll always recommend Vercel and Next.js for almost every product. And like
You know what? Call it whatever you want to call it. The damn thing is fast. It's easy to deploy. I don't have to think about it. It's like 10 seconds. It costs $20 to host.
I
Fine.
like it. The one thing, the biggest change I'll make, and I think that I challenge people, or at least the development community on, is I think that Ruby on Rails, I get a lot better output out of Ruby on Rails than I do out of building a big product in
Because
Next.js.
it's more human readable, and LLMs are over indexed on readability, right?
Yep.
For humans by humans. Yeah, my last contract was at a Ruby shop, and we started moving everybody over to Golang because you know what? 6 months ago, if any CTO would have gone and said, we're rewriting the entire stack, you fire them.
Right. It's you would never. That
Fire
was the
them. You
jolt.
fire them. You like you're an idiot. Get out of here. Get out of here. But now I can point Claude Code and say, take these API endpoints into Golang, read the active record ORM into direct SQL because I'm a purist. Don't
You're
no
a direct
ORMs.
SQL. Yeah.
Direct. I want to see exactly what the query plan will be like eventually. I don't know.
Right.
Don't give me any of these N+1 queries. Issues only happen because of ORMs, like
Right.
90% of
Right.
the time, because people don't know how to even query. I can't believe most of my developers did not know how to query SQL. It's all ORMs left to learn. I'm like, what? I don't understand. That's like the job though. It's like that's the database is the most
ORMs are
important thing.
especially active records. Active record is quite nice. You get very used to it. Like for me, I
Yeah,
love that's one
dots,
of the best
dots,
parts
dots.
of.
That's it.
And
Yeah,
I'm just like, man, I love it. Is I've used a bunch of the Node ones like Prisma and Drizzle, and I am always like, I miss Active Rec. I think Active Rec, they did as ORMs go. That's like the crown jewel for me. They did such a great job with it. But you are right. The other thing about Ruby, and I've said this too, is Next.js seems to has changed quite a bit over the. I've been writing Next.js for 10 years, and I said it doesn't look anything like what I wrote 10 years ago, but Rails code bases have remarkably stayed the same in certain respects. There's newer stuff like Turbo and whatnot, but generally the LLMs, there's less flux, so they know a lot more about the code base, how to architect it, how to put it together. So you and on top of that, it's just more human readable. So when you come back to like, I need to audit what you did, I just look at it. And I think Go is kind of like, people may call me crazy. I think Go's a little like that too. Yes, it's got more characters, but it's simple. It's what I love about Go is like it's
that's
just
it's
it's a
minimalist.
simple language.
It's You know what? I made a whole video, a rant, and I was ripping on Golang like hard because I love it and I absolutely hate it at the same time. I love it because it's minimalist, but I hate it because it's minimalist. Because I'm used to .NET, I'm used to Next.js, I'm used to Node.js, to Ruby. I'm like, oh, there's a package, let's
Yep,
go,
yep, yep.
done. Golang is so raw. It's like it's so raw. If it dies, it's going to die unceremoniously. It's just like bam, seg fault. See ya.
Yep. It
I love
really
it.
is it.
You know.
It's funny. I recently had a project too that had I've been working on like a project for like doing this AEO thing. I'm trying to do a little more, learn about it, and I'm running like 3 different LLMs, and they're running like 50 plus queries across these different websites. And I thought about doing it in Golang, and then I chose Elixir because I felt like it was the happy medium between Go and Ruby, but it could
Mm.
also handle that. And once again, LLM, I didn't have to go take a month to learn Elixir, read a bunch of books on Phoenix. I was like, and the cool thing about Phoenix is it's almost like it's very Rails inspired, so I can still read it, but the LLM's writing it and it writes it beautifully. Like it really nails it. And the way, when I
Hmm.
say beautifully, like my judge is, does the LLM get this correct when I hit refresh? Or does it like immediately hit me with an error and I'm like, you didn't get it right? Like there's, not did you get the product part right? I know we'll have to massage that into place. That comes from me. But did you at least, does all the code run and not break on me as soon as I run it? And that, it seems like it does that very nicely with Elixir as well.
I find once Opus 4.6 came out, we stopped having those issues.
Yeah.
Before Opus
Yeah.
4.6, it would still compile errors and whatnot. Once 4.6 came out, I'm like, oh wow, it's like it actually got it straight out of the gate. Opus 4.7, forget about it. It was amazing. And I'm just using 4.8 now, and I'm building one of my startups now. And yeah, no, it's next level. It's next level. I don't even I have to give it my dyslexic ridden mess of a text, and it
Yeah.
understands me. It gets me.
It, it still gets it.
It
It's
it gets
really
me. It
true.
understands exactly what I wanted, and there's misspellings everywhere, and some words are jumbled. When you're typing on a mobile, half the times you're like, don't know what you just typed. It kind of figured it out. It's trained on this apparently. But
This is
you
so. What you got
mentioned
to get into is the whisper. Everyone's telling me about the voice
Whisper.
now,
I
and
can't. I can't talk. I can't talk to
I,
the AI.
I don't
I'm a
like
thinker.
doing that at my desktop. On my phone, I like it because I just like kind of go. But I do like that. Like today when I'm on my walk, I like to be able to talk to it instead of like stop and type, and then I can just kind of read it. But you are right. I feel weird sitting here at my desk just talking to my computer. Like I can't do that. Like just sit
No,
here in
that's weird.
silence
It's
talking to my
very
computer.
weird. It's very weird. You have to be like everybody else at Starbucks talking to your AI. That's less weird.
that's
Yeah, that's less weird. Yes, that's exactly it. Mom,
that's it.
I'm talking to my AIs. Hold on a minute. What the
It's
hell?
super fun. It's
You
super
know,
fun. But
you mentioned this Ruby Tech Turbo.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I know people like it. I absolutely despise its very existence, and I think it's stupid.
Okay. All right. This is we should talk about that. Here's what I'll give you my experience. I have projects doing both. I have one big project right now using Inertia, React, and Ruby on Rails. And what I will tell you is GPT 5.5, it's going way smoother. I'll just put it there. It's
I
working up.
heard of GPT 5.5 is getting really good. But I personally only use Cowork. I never use Claude Chat ever. I only use
If
Cowork purely.
okay,
That's it.
if I was using even with Claude, I think that the LLMs tend to know like if you're going to use Rails, Inertia, React, you're going to have a great stack. The turbo thing, you will, even now with the best models, both 4.8 and 5.5, you'll get these weird things where I have to steer it a lot more because the problem that Turbo did was that there's too many different ways to do the same thing. And what I'll catch it doing is, oh, you're using stimulus. No, you should be using turbo frames for that. Then it'll forget to return the turbo frame. You'll get content. So you get more of that. The reason I'm kind of excited about Turbo is some I have some projects now. I'm trying to get into Turbo Native because some people want their web app turned into a native app, and like I love the
Turbo
PWA.
native.
And there's
Oh
a
God,
Turbo Native, and it's really just a web wrapper. And honestly, that's like 99% of what any of the people I work with need is just they just
that's
want
it.
to wrap it up in a web wrapper. They're like, oh, I got like
PWA. It's a PWA wrapped inside of a mobile shell. That's basically all of it.
exactly
And
it.
PWA is so fast. If your UI if your UI is built properly and your backend is well, not built by monkeys, you're not
It'll
querying the
work
entire
great.
database. It'll feel native. It'll feel native 100%. Yeah.
So I'm going to deploy my first Turbo Native app, and I've been pleased because I was using Capacitor Next.js before. One of the things is I wanted to do it on Rails because I did want like the queues. I like the stacks, the queues, all of the stuff that it comes with
All the
tends to
sugar.
just like
Yeah. It makes everything easy.
it's a great package, and so I run with that. Um, but I'm excited about Turbo Native. I like the idea of Turbo, but I agree with you. It needs something. I think there's somebody. His name is Marco Roth. He's working on something called Reaction View, which I think is going to give reactivity and kind of eliminate all of the
Mm.
confusion around: do I use stimulus? Do I use turbo frames?
So
It,
my
yeah,
my problem with Turbo is that it breaks the client server convention. There's
mm-hmm.
no APIs. It's like my
Yes,
controller's returning, is it HTML? What the hell is it? I don't even know what that is, right? It's
it
how is this making this call? It's a form post? What are you nuts? What the hell's a form post? You know?
It is and it gets confusing for the LLMs. I have to admit that there's been a lot of friction working with that. I know that the founders, the creator of Ruby on Rails, they love it. I love in theory. My ideal architecture is similar to me. I had the idea of a front end framework that was just buildless like that, but I tend to prefer the model view update loop. And I mention this all the time. I like the way Elm was architected from the
Mm,
beginning.
mm,
I would love it
mm,
if it just had that going on and it just passed the data up. Now, here's my experience going with the Phoenix framework. They use live view.
mhm.
That kind of that's like the cream to me where I was like, I really like this, where it's just now Elixir's built for this like high WebSocket usage though. So I think they can do more, but I love the way that works. And the LLMs tend to nail that with your mutations and your query functions all kind of in the same file. Um, I've been using something called Ash Framework for Elixir, which is really nice. Which is I want to say it's like an actor model. It keeps everything composed. It's worth taking a look at. But I love the way the code really maintains this readability, and the front end is much. It works a lot better than the Turbo. There's a lot of friction in working with Turbo, so that's my. I have thought about
So,
saying, hey, use Turbo, but this is my method, like an Elm architecture, but I haven't gotten around to it.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Turbo, fantastic for developer productivity in general because you kind of have to not think. All the pipeline is kind of done for you. You just kind of operate in the surface areas. Oh, return the stream. Nice and simple, right? But not very LLM friendly. But I have a very simple rule. I actually have two rules that I always follow, right? The first one, and this goes to framework selection, architecture, whatever it is.
Mhm.
Okay? Whatever it is. When it comes to structuring a project, the architecture, an entire product ecosystem, very simple rule, segregate and objectify, always. Always. Segregate your operations, objectify everything. And I like to say, the running joke that I like to say with my devs is just do it with code, not people. That's not cool. We don't do that
Yeah,
anymore. All
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
If you do that, you're fired. You can't do that. General,
It's true,
fun thing.
right? Right, and I
Right?
like that because yeah, the old moniker of like your organization will represent the code, or the code will represent the organization. We shouldn't have that anymore. We should
Nope.
be able to write the best
Was
code.
that Conway's Law thing? Conway's Law?
Yes, I think it's
Yeah,
Conway's law. It's like an
Conway's
old
Law.
mythical. Yeah,
And when you see a completely disjointed and just like a shame of an architecture, just look back at how the organization runs and I'm like, yeah, makes
yeah,
sense as to why this occurred. There's a person sending emails to that person who's sending another email. That's your job, is to fast forward.
yeah.
Anyway, my second rule with frameworks especially, okay? With frameworks especially, because their entire job is to make life easy.
Mhm.
That's it. It just, when do you want it to be easy? Do you want it to be easy at the beginning, or do you want it to be easy when you're in the weeds? That's the
Right.
question. So Turbo Stream and all that is easy at the beginning, but you go make something complicated and you're gonna curse to the high heavens, if you can even say that. Sorry. Yeah,
I
But
agree. I agree. I was not. Yeah, I see what you're
but
saying.
but if you use something like React.js with server-side rendering and APIs, sure, it's it's hard at the beginning to set it all up. It's a pain. Multiple projects and your Docker Compose and your builds and everything. Gets complicated. Of course it does. But once it's up, the hard part is at the beginning. It's easy to maintain because there's a very simple model. This calls this reviews this, your data stores are here, your hooks are there, dot, 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 dot. Nice and simple. The LLM does not have to be what's that, rotationist, like the people that bend all around,
Yeah, yeah.
contortionists, or something like that, right? In order to understand what the heck's going on. Because if you, as a human, can easily read it, your LLM, that is basically a really stupid human, right? That knows everything,
They
but
get
it's
it.
an idiot. They'll understand it. That's what it is. Those are the two simple rules that I ask. So I always ask my devs. I'm like, listen, this project, is it an internal little thing, whatever? Yeah, whatever. Build it in VB6 for all. Like, I don't. Why are you even bothering me with this question, right? But if it's a major core system that's going to be evolving rapidly and continuously, no, man, put the hard work in now. And honestly, tell Claude Code, I need a Golang backend, I need this, I need that, I need a React.js, I need SSR, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. Design it. Oh, and you know what? I need everything in Docker Compose with data migrations and this and that and everything under the sun, and then go home. Auto, go. Shift, what is it? Shift tab, auto,
Yep, yep, yep.
and
And
then
then
go
let it
home.
run.
Let it run. Let it build the first layer, just the architecture, and then you've got it. It used to take 3 weeks to build this out. Okay, not 3 weeks, a week to build this
Right.
out, maybe more. Now it's like 2 hours. What do you care?
and you'd be tuning it and all that, and it's true. It's and especially now, I was saying even now, like the setup for like the Rails and even with React now with inertia, it's one
Hmm.
command, and it's that's another thing that I do like. The LLMs tend to work really well is that they have like all the things that make your life easier make the LLM's life easier, like all those
Hmm.
generator commands, all that stuff. All of a sudden, it's just like boom, 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 things, because that was another big thing is the speed of the framework starts to make a big difference. One of the one that was another big reason I moved away from Next.js. This project was a big ed tech. It's funny. It was an LMS. It was a big ed tech LMS.
I
God, the
was just
dev server.
in ed tech with LMSs. We were building our own LMS. It was crazy complicated.
That's what
Crazy
we did the
complicated.
same thing with these SCORM files, and I did it all in
Yeah.
Next.js, deployed to Vercel. By the end of it, though, I was deploying to Vercel because the dev server was so freaking slow that I couldn't take it anymore. And so that was what kind of clued me in. I go, huh, am I going Laravel or Rails? Because I like the idea of write the files, no build. I just want dynamic, like I want to be able to just get on the browser and do it. No more build process. And now, of course, I was a types person, and now I'm not a types person, and people are like, you are crazy for not liking types. I said, listen, I always liked types. I was always big on, look, I liked
But
Elm.
they're a human concern. They're a human limitation. That's what we needed types. We never needed types otherwise.
Exactly.
Why is there protobuf, the protofiles
Right.
in Golang? Because humans are stupid. That's it.
And give me a type checker that runs as fast as the Elm type checker, and now we don't have a problem anymore because it runs in seconds. It gives like tiny little, you made a mistake right here, not like the TypeScript
You know, man,
like the giant.
I go native, like so I've got one project in Next.js, that's fine. And I already know once this thing hits any amount of scale and I start spending about a G a month on Vercel, which is not a lot for hosting. I'm gonna rewrite the
No,
whole thing in Golang with HTML, making simple API calls.
very
Not even
keep it very
React.js,
basic.
not even, right?
Well,
all
everyone's going to
embedded
Vite
in the
now.
Go, all embedded, in the Go in the Go library, in the Go compiled endpoint, right? Whatever you want to call it, the deliverable, right? Using Gin or whatever framework they've got, and that's it. And then my hosting cost is gonna go way down to like $10, like
Right.
nothing, because that's what it is. It's nothing. Like one Go process can handle 30 to 60 times what Ruby can handle, let alone Next.js. My gosh, and Ruby is more optimized than Next.js, mind you,
Yeah.
right? By
That I
leaps and
will
bounds.
say, as the project gets bigger and bigger, you don't hit that, like Ruby scales better in terms of like you're not running this dev server. Now, some people switch to Vite, but once again, I go back to the thing that always gets me is like the need for stacks, queues, cache. I like not being totally tied to Vercel. That was like one thing. Like one of the things that I started to run into is, all right, I'm using Vercel cron. And then like you start to run into this where like if you're doing big data processing, which is we were doing
No,
for
it doesn't work.
it
Vercel is for your dinky little website. It's not for production grade. Once you generate a couple of $1,000s a month, get off of Vercel. What are you doing, man? Like,
you gotta get off it. It's I think you'll love you'll really like Elixir, I think too. I think that that's pretty, that's kind of hitting this happy medium for me between the performance of like the Go, but the ergonomics of what Ruby gives me. So
you know, maybe. I've one thing to say about this is that LLMs will usher the end of programming languages as we know them. There is no need for them anymore. What is a framework if something to simplify a human developer's time?
right,
Conventions to simplify a human developer's ability to read the code, right? Code readability, all of these things are no longer necessary. It's actually more tokens and more code and more writing for the human, but it hurts the LLM. At some
right,
point, someone will come up with, let's say, a Golang style variant of a programming language that can do front end and back end and this and that. You won't know what the heck it's doing, but it's going to merge all of these technologies together, completely unreadable to humans, just for LLMs purely. Because, listen, we trust Opus 4.8. I tell it to write, do this and do this and do this and do this, and boom, commit, push. Vercel shows me in a preview. I take a look. Yep, that's exactly what I want. Go ahead, merge. I
Yeah.
trust it at that level because obviously I've got code reviews and security reviews in my CI. It's not, vibe coding. People get very extreme about these things, right?
Yeah, yeah. I still like
There's
calling
this.
it. I like calling it vibe
Yeah.
coding because I think it's a cool word. But I know what
Yeah,
you mean.
it's
I just
I wrote a whole article about professional vibe coding. There's a
professional vibe
professional
coding.
way to vibe code. I like vibe coding. I like it.
I,
But there's a
I like
professional way of
the
doing it.
I like this idea that we still have this human readable artifact left over. But I do wonder about that because I think about this now. I go, like you said, there was always somebody who was making a new programming language that they thought was the best. Like I think the most recent one that I learned about was Gleam, which was like the type safe Erlang. So it was sort of taking it was adding types to Elixir basically and compiling to either Node.js or it was compiling to, I mean, we weren't even compiling down to machine code anymore. We were just compiling into other languages to create the ergonomics that we wanted as humans.
Hmm.
And you're right. I don't read the code. I was just talking to, I mean, I'm going to a meetup this week. A good friend runs it. And he was like, I'm talking at RubyConf and I want to give a talk, but I was like, yo, I haven't actually written any Ruby code in over 6 months. And I'm barely even really reading it. The language is sort of, and it's crazy to me because now I look at the projects come to me and I don't really think about I think about the language and framework in terms of not what I know, which used to be the way. What does my team know? What do I know? That always weighed the heaviest in my decisions, which was like, we're not all going to go learn Rust, like, for example. But now I'm like, listen, if Rust
Don't
is
talk
the
to me about
best,
Rust, man. That thing is a mess. That thing
it's
is
a
a
crazy language. But if that was the best tool for the job or Zig or whatever, I don't have any fear about using it. Where I'm like, I don't have fear. I know what I need. I know I need test driven development. I know I need what my agent's file is for Ruby is going to be very similar to that. It's
Mhm.
going to say, hey, you're going to write your tests first. You're going to make sure they fail. Then you're going to write the passing code. Then I'm going to have another agent audit that for efficiency. Right now, maybe I'll go and look at certain pieces where there's security concerns. And I'm like, is this the best way? But once again, is it the best way is something I'm going to research with an LLM. I'm not really, unless you like, it's very rare. I mean, how often did you have an expert in some language just randomly show up to any given project? It usually wasn't the case. Usually, if you were given an odd language, and for me, that would have been like something like .NET because I was not a big .NET programmer, but I'd get .NET projects. I'd basically have to like map what I knew about TypeScript to C#. I didn't, and we would gradually learn the language as we built. And then we would go from there. Now you don't really worry about that. Like I was saying, like this Elixir project, I knew like these are the things I want. There was a bottleneck that was happening that I was like, hey, I thought this couldn't happen with Beam. And the LLM said, no, 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 HTTP bottleneck. And I go, shit, I didn't even think about that. I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I was like, I wasn't thinking about it because I was kind of like letting it, I thought I was getting free performance, right? Like
So
the
what's your
classic.
what's your development process like? I have a very interesting development process. I don't even talk to my agents anymore or to my Claude Code sessions.
Interesting. Yeah, this is good. Let's talk process. My process is still pretty vanilla. It's like a TMUX session. I fire up. So if it's a brand new project, I'm usually in whatever it is. If it's Claude, if it's GPT, I'm doing my research. Usually between 2 or 3 different languages, frameworks, databases. I'm talking about what the project is going to need, and then I'm going back and forth with my concerns, and then I'm re-challenging it too. I'm like, okay, now I want you to show me what if I did that with Rails and Falcon versus Go versus, and ultimately we end up landing on this is the perfect technology for this thing. That at least according to that, and I'm usually going through 3 or 4 different things. Then I said, give me the markdown file that gives me kind of the broad outline of what we're going to do because I'm going to feed that into Codex. That goes into Codex, and Codex starts setting up the code base, building out all of that infrastructure. Then I look at it there. Then I go to the agents MD file, and I'm usually thinking, okay, that this stuff is usually all in my plan, but that I want TDD. I want to use Tailwind. This is the style. is there a UI kit? Is there a brand kit? Usually I'll start to do that stuff there. Then I'm like, okay, now I want to build the UI kit and I want to add to the agents file that, like, you should be using the UI kit for everything. Like, dry up your code, all the good stuff. Um, at that point, the code is kind of ready for business features. Usually, there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes out of the box, authentication, that stuff, but then
All
it's
of that
ready for
nasty
business
stuff,
features.
all the pipeline stuff. Like nobody wants to deal with the garbage cleanup, right? It's like all of that,
Exactly.
imagine the garbage is picked up on the street. I don't know how that happened, but that's the
Right.
unsexy stuff, Yeah,
The, the,
for sure.
but I think of it as I'm building the machine that's going to build this machine, this app. So I want to make sure that I'm on stable footing, and that I probably spend the most time on that, because if I get that right, then I start going feature by feature and every time I do it, I basically do the feature in plan mode, execute, and I'll usually be reading those plans. Sometimes if I know that it's going to get it, like it'll ask me those questions, I kind of like skim, I go, these are the important parts. Or sometimes I'll say, just execute the plan. It'll be faster for me to read the code if it's something small. I tend to work in a little bit now, you mentioned doing like multiple panes. I will do that at a certain point in a project when the project is large enough that there's there's a module here or module, like 3 different modules all have the same ticket. I'll let the LLM do that. But if I feel like there's going to be overlap, I tend to work in like a single threaded capacity for quite some time, where it's like feature, test, deploy, feature, test, deploy, feature, test, deploy. Starts to hit a certain size, maybe we'll do 2 features at once. Maybe we'll start that. It's very similar to how I would have scaled a human team. It's just happening over the course of a month instead of like years.
I do it in a completely different way. I have
Very cool.
embraced the full agentic approach completely. So first of all of my planning is done in Claude Cowork, straight up.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
for every project, I actually create a project in Claude Cowork. I give it the instructions, right? That's where I define my product features, my PRDs, my differential analysis. Oh, I'm gonna use authentication. What should I use in terms of authentication system? Keycloak Citadel or this or that or whatever it is, right? I do that analysis in there. Then
Okay.
once I'm ready for that, I created a scale a Claude Cowork skill that connects to GitHub MCP and then
Okay.
creates my issues one at a time of
Oh,
everything. So I've got my massive PRD, my epic PRD, right? And it creates the issues with all of the specs on the inside, right? Then I go to my
and you're
machine,
using Git issues, fully
get
embracing.
issues
It's
or
all in
Jira.
Git.
Yeah, or Jira, whatever works for you. But honestly, Git issues is fine for 99.999% of the time. For even a team of 15 developers, it's fine. Just that's
Right.
okay. What do I need? Like, you need to manage your project. Okay, well, GitHub projects. That's it.
I totally
Not the end
agree.
of the
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
right? So then what I do is then I spin up 6 Cloud Code sessions, right? And I in different work trees of the same repo. And I just tell them, all right, go and get the next issue. Boom. Go and get the next issue. Boom. Go and get the next issue. It uses the GHCLI, not the MCP, because I find the MCP way too slow in Claude Code.
The GHCLI too.
It does
I'm
the
fully GHCLI.
GHCLI, it pulls it, it does this, it does that, right? It pulls the entire thing and it knows the first thing to do is because I've got a nice Claude MD, I spend a lot of time on structuring my team like you would do with a human team. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
training, a lot of process, a lot of guidance so that they can work seamlessly. It just
Right.
you become an engineering manager of AI agents instead of developer agents. That's it, of human agents. That's all it is. You're shifting from managing humans to managing agents, except the agents are idiots. They're stupid.
Yes.
They have unlimited knowledge, but they're dumb as nails. So you got to give them a tiny little piece, slither of work. That's how it's got to be. So you got to have a lot of them. So now I've got 6 agents, and if I need more, if I have like my multiple screens at home, right? I'll spin up more. And trust me, I finish my credits in one day.
Wow. Wow.
I
Wow.
hit the limit on Opus 4.8 in one day, really quickly, but I'm running a lot because I'm running a lot all at the same time. So Claude Max does not last very long with Opus 4.8, but I choose to only code in Opus 4.8. I don't, and I do the analysis. I don't touch Sonnet at all. There are reasons for using that when it's time, but that's not for code. But anyways, so I've got it all going, and it knows it's gonna commit, it's gonna push, and when it's ready and it's done the tests and it ran it in Docker Compose and this and that, everything, it's gonna create a PR. And then boop, the PR shows up. Then when it does the PR, I simply tell it loop, right? Every few minutes on this because you're going to babysit my PR. Because I'm not going to tell you in Claude Code what to do. I'm going to do the review in GitHub. So
Right.
I'm doing my review. I'm like, oh, I don't like this. And also, please remember to never do this again in Claude Code MD. Thank you. Boom. Next. Submit a comment. A few minutes later, it's going to pick it up and it's going to read all the comments. And what I tell it to do is to answer my comments. That's what I tell it. You have to answer my comments with what you've done. Like I'm having a conversation with you through the PR. That's what I'm having.
Right.
Because otherwise I lose track of what I'm working on. I've got like 6 PRs, man. Sometimes there's 12, 15, 18 PRs because I'm executing a lot of work. And the reason why you have to, I run the agents manually is because there's some classes of work that you can't do at the same time, right? That's just the very
That's
nature
what
of
I
it,
find is yeah, like
right?
if
So if
I'm
I'm
at the
doing
very
all
beginning.
backend, yeah, if I'm doing all backend, then I know I'm going to split all my backend work, all the APIs separately because I know they're not touching each other. That's fine. So I can have
Right.
them all in the same in different work trees, different branches, and they're going to get merged in properly. And if I have a code merge, like any self-respecting engineer, I tell Claude, fix code merge conflict, please.
Yeah.
And it
Fix
does a
them
whole
on.
bunch of things with Git that I didn't know it could do. It can cherry pick and do. I'm not doing this myself. Are you nuts?
I was
Never gonna
going to
happen.
say this is one other thing is like I know Git. I know people who have been like pro Git users. I have to say that like Claude knows Git better than I do. That is for sure. Yeah, like that the things that it can do with Git when like things go wrong are like completely different than my process. I do everything in lazy Git. So I'm like using NeoVim and lazy Git. So it's done and then I'm actually reviewing in lazy Git and I'm like no. Yes, no, this is good. And so I'm doing it all because I'm keeping the same session. I'm instead of going back to GitHub, back and forth. I did try the PR in GitHub approach, but then I was like, I just rather just do it all in the terminal. And so
Yeah,
I'm
I
leaving.
lose track. If it's one session, totally fine. Then you're watching it, your coffee, you have your Disney Plus on the side and whatnot. You're answering emails, whatever it is. But because I'm issuing so much work to all my agents all at the same time, right?
Right.
Even
You're
for a
just
personal project, that this morning it was 7 a.m. before the gym, I wrote a whole PRD for one of my products and I told it split it all into GitHub issues. I've got 35 GitHub issues, micro amounts of work, and each one's gonna do that, right? And then I did the same thing for my blog, right? I'm like, oh, I need a couple of articles. I want to change some of the services. Each one is a PR. Started the sessions, let it go, and let it
let
do
it
its
run.
thing. Let it run
I
and
like the
let it
Git
do its
issues
thing.
thing. We have our own
Yeah.
we have our own it's so interesting. We have our own project management solution that we built. It's very Kanban style. The reason we built it ourselves is because again, it goes back to managing humans and time tracking. And as an agency owner, we were finding that like people would go overtime or undertime, and we wanted a better way to estimate and see like projections of like this is the revenue over time. Now, as we were talking about before, one thing that's changed is the whole agency model has changed in that I don't know if it makes sense to time track anymore. Like
No,
I don't
no.
I
The time tracking is gone. Time tracking is gone. Productivity is gone. The actual, and this is a really interesting aspect because the entire ROI as a CTO, right? The entire ROI, because that's almost thinking, what's my return on investment?
right.
It used to be money. It used to be because that was the ultimate aspect now. But I changed that. There's a return on investment based on customer experience. There's a return on investment based on satisfaction of the customer. Yes, you can boil everything down eventually to revenue, but it's such a far metric that it's really, really hard to evaluate, right? Because with AI coding, What do you want, product manager? Do you want 5 different onboarding flows? Okay, design it in Figma. And then I go Figma to React.js. It's not as simple as that, but
But the
99%
Figma
of the work is
MCP is
done.
great. It's I've used that. I agree with you. It's so our whole thing was like this was the revolution. We were like, hey, we're gonna we had the subscription base. We had our developers are billing hourly, and so we want to know. But now at a certain point, I'm like, okay, well, there's not many developers, and finally people are coming around to the idea of I want a flat rate per month, take on more clients to because now you get paid for your efficiency. And like you said, I did a whole episode for my forward deployed engineering kind of segment on this idea of customer satisfaction. I go, listen, businesses care about this, especially if you're going to go start talking about service businesses. A lot of people's big move now is I want to bring AI to the service business, to mid-market. I'm like, dude, customer experience is everything. It's not just about AI. It's not about cost cutting. If the customer is even a little bit unhappy, they might go to a competitor. And I bring up this metric that we used to learn way back in the day when I worked at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and it used to say that if the customer is a 5 out of 5, right, 100% satisfied, they will come back to you 70% of the time. If they are a 4 out of 5, 4 stars, still pretty good, but not quite there, 30% of the time they'll come back. So it's
Jeez, that's bad. Yeah.
super. So the whole message was everyone's got to leave a 5 out of 5 because we don't make money the first time they come. We make money when they come back. And so I take this to engineering, just like you were saying, is listen, every customer that uses our products should be a 5 out of 5 because that is what when people, because that's the difference now. Every product can be replicated by AI. It's do I love using this product? And the
Hmm.
tiniest little bits of friction are the things that take those 5s to 4s and lets them go, oh, that new project management system came out. Let me try it. Let me try Monday. Let me try that, oh,
Who
everyone's
gives a
talking about this
oh,
one.
no, all of these make no difference anymore because they're all designed to manage humans. You're not managing humans anymore. Every developer is an engineering manager of 10 AIs, AI
Right, right.
agents. Every
And let's
single
think
one.
about
We're,
let's
we're
think
done
about
with
an
this BS.
LMS.
Yeah.
Here's the other side though, on the customer experience side, what I'm really excited about, where I think we have not figured out, and I'm doing a lot of lab style experiments into this, which is we always used to say, we're going to release a UI. And as long as 51% of people preferred that one, that's the version we go with, right? Like, but now I feel like a level of personalization is possible that was not where if you have a 20% segment of your customer, even a 2% segment that prefers to interact with the thing this way, we could give it to them because we don't,
Yeah.
one, it
And,
doesn't
and we
cost a ton
should
to
give
build.
it to them because the
Yeah,
cost is no
yeah,
longer engineering. Now engineering is the lowest cost.
it really is.
It's the lowest. And product managers no longer need to write tickets. They don't need to write specs anymore. They need to think about the customer. They need to become the customer expert. Their job is completely changed. A product manager will survive in the company if that's how they're thinking. They're thinking in how do I make the product better? Not
Mhm.
I need to create this ticket now. Like this
Right.
is madness. Don't do
Well,
that.
product
Focus
managers that,
on focus 100% of your effort on bettering the product. And then engineers, I tell my engineers, you need to rewrite the whole system. So rewrite it. What are you asking me for? Why are you waiting for this?
right,
Rewriting the system, it's not in the ticket. I don't give a damn if it's in the ticket or not. Just do it.
make it
Run
better.
it as
Well,
a separate session.
here's
Let's
the
figure
interesting
out.
thing too. Product managers that used to be engineers, I
Are the
think is a
best.
very that's going to be your most powerful skill set. So a lot of folks, and this kind of goes into what we were talking about, is I think that this is the age of like, if you want to call it the Renaissance man, I don't know, like the people who are really well rounded. That maybe like back in the day, we always looked for like very strong specialists, like the DevOps specialist, the systems.
Nope.
Now it's like, hey,
Generalist.
the generalist is this is like a moment, and I think I see this online, that the people most resistant to AI were also the most specialized,
Yes.
as opposed to the
Because their job is no longer relevant anymore to be a specialist. The jack of all trades master of none used to be an insult.
Yeah.
But no, you want the jack of all trades. I want a person who knows React and the backend and product and customer service, and finance and FinOps and all of that, all of this, and hosting and DevOps. And you don't have to be an expert at all, but you know enough about K8s not to shoot yourself in the foot. You know enough about AWS to do this, to do that, and so on and so forth. So I'm not a hosting specialist. I can't be, right? Can't be everything, right?
Can't be everything.
But one of my clients was spending 180,000 a month between AWS and Azure. And I'm like,
Wow.
what the are you doing? Like, you don't have that many customers that it makes sense, right?
Right.
That's it. Like, you should have 180,000 customers every month.
Right.
That's at minimum $1 a customer. At least I can validate that. And even then, that's ridiculous. I open Claude Code. I'm like, okay. Give me access to AWS, to Azure, to everything. I want access to everything. Right? Took them like a month and a half to give me access to it all but it is what it is, I told
Humans.
Claude Code, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna use the AWS CLI, you're gonna use the Azure CLI, you're gonna pull everything, you're gonna create a map, associated costs, and then you're gonna go into GitHub and pull the fucking repo and explain to me what the repo does for that project and how it's connected. I burnt out all my tokens 4 times until it was finished. But it went through the CLIs one at a time, every single resource, pulled the costs, put everything. I put everything in a report, something that would have taken months of work. Months of work. I showed them, I'm like, by the way, you're spending $90,000 too much every month. Too much. You're burning. That is a lot of money. That is, I can get 4 other principal engineers for that without touching
Right.
the budget. Without touching the budget. That's it. That's it. It's madness, man. It's
It's
madness. But
crazy.
that's what it is. That's what it is. So it's, AI is a generalist's best friend, right? It's a generalist's best friend. Um, Code no longer matters. Framework no longer matters. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. It's all a business decision. This is too slow. Move it to Golang. I don't give a damn. Go,
It,
rewrite the whole thing. We have 700 APIs. So
right.
it'll
Right.
take you 4 hours. That's it.
It's
It'll take you
it's
4
it's
hours.
really all about what is going to be best, one, for the LLM, right? Like, how are we going to make this more optimized? And this is goes back to what we were talking about, is will there be another new programming language? Or are we going to make like, will the optimizations to programming be, how do we make languages more token efficient, fewer tokens, almost get, as you talked about, getting more human readable? I think of my beloved Lisp style like a closure, where it's just like, yeah, it's not super readable, but man, is it compact and token efficient. And like, let the LLM run with that. Yes, you could audit it if you really needed to, but you're literally writing in the AST. Takes you like one step closer to the compiler. So I
We're
think about this.
we're back to assembly. I took a Next.js project and I'm like, just for shits and giggles,
Make
I
it
had nothing to
assembly
do that weekend because I'm a geek, I have no life. And I told Claude Code, I'm like, study this, let's rewrite it in assembly.
just for fun, just for fun.
Just for fun. And you know what? It worked. It
It
worked. I didn't
worked.
know how to run it. I'm like, I have no idea how to run assembly. I'm like, just
Yeah.
like do your thing. Just do. I didn't study assembly. You study assembly. Nobody. Who the hell knows assembly, man? Maybe the guy who wrote Rust. Maybe, right? But you know, do it. There you go. Now I have machine level performance, like down to the wire, almost performance,
Right.
right? I would never deploy that because I don't even know how to deploy this thing, but that's that's what AI affords us. That's why, like, just do it. Just do it. It's like,
What
why are you
this
screwing
is
around?
this is why I still think it's important, though. Like, it's important to know the foundational knowledge of how all this stuff works, because and it's hard to explain. There's a great book. It's called like Code: The Hidden Art of like Software or something. And I always love this one, but there's other like architecture books that are very high level of how things work, because if your mental model is flawed of like how the browser works, how event loops work, this starts to, the AI driven development, I think, becomes more difficult for you. But I also think that by the time you're an expert in a language, you likely learned a lot of that stuff. So you that knowledge people still have to get somehow. So one of the questions I always ask now is, what does it look like in your mind for the junior engineer, though? How do they get some of that kind of gut instinct that you've built over the years? Um, yeah.
We're facing down a cataclysmic event of biblical proportions. I know I'm being very facetious right now, but in terms of our industry, the junior developers of now are they're done for. They're done for because the entire educational model of to train an engineer has to now adapt. You're no longer, oh, is it an if with three equals or is it two equals? Like even my engineering tests that I give for principal engineers are all about problem solving. I want you to write this in AI. It's an impossible test. You can't do this in an hour.
Right,
Use
right.
AI. I want to see how you're using it because that's what actually matters. Because there's still 50 different ways of solving a problem. That's where the human ingenuity comes into play, and that's what I want to see. So, junior developers coming out of school that have learned how to code are done for. They actually have to learn architecture. They have to learn systems design. They have to understand programming languages, yes, at a high conceptual level, when to use an ORM, what is a database migration, and all these things. And they don't even learn that now. They don't even learn what a database migration is
They don't even learn
today
Git.
in school. They barely learn Git. And also, you don't need an entire semester on Git. You need, there's like 4 commands. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
git pull,
yeah.
git branch, git commit, git push, and be done with it. Everything else, you know, we'll see. So, so junior engineers are screwed. That's it. Principal engineers are the only ones that have gotten their ass kicked, so to speak, enough times that they know what not to do. Right?
Right.
That's it. So now the entire educational system has to actually shift. And if we know ed tech and education, that's a good one. It ain't
It,
going anywhere. It's
no,
not
it's
changing
very
that quickly.
protectionist.
That's
It's
it.
very
So
protectionist.
university, you went to university. I don't give a damn if you went to university. Are you self-taught? Yeah. What'd you build? That's what I want to know. So if there's a junior engineer who wants a job, build something, put it online, send traffic to it. Show me what you've got.
Yeah.
That's what matters now. Because your degree, I could care less where you got it from. Your training, certifications, I could care less. It means nothing. It's how you solve a problem. Solve problems for me, I give you money. Otherwise, I have to solve the problems myself, and my organic context window is too small.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
that's it. You know,
I agree. I've always said, I think the value of school for engineers becomes more like what the value was for liberal arts in some sense, is that you're going to get some time to be able to handwrite a project and be inefficient. Like when I took some art classes, some of the things you learned are like you had to build a color wheel. Did building a color wheel make, suddenly turn me into Michelangelo? No. But you had to understand color theory, they wanted to teach it to you. And so now I'm like, okay, I want to teach you how the theory of programming languages. So it's worth you spending some time in a course, but nobody's going to pay you to do that learning. Like I'm self-taught. People paid me to write code that I learned on. That path I think is closed now. Where I think
I learn everything off of Claude Cowork. That's it.
I
Oh, I
I
want to
use
learn
something.
Rust. Explain to me Rust compared to Golang compared to Next.js. How do I achieve all these things? Oh, because I have to see it because that's how I have to learn. Example. I get it now. I see how you did all of this. That makes total sense now. That makes total
I do
sense. That's it.
I built something called Code Dojo, which was for Claude Code, and it basically flips the script, and the agent will issue me problems and I'll solve them, hand typing them, and then it'll tell me what I did wrong. And I'll even say, like, I'm good at TypeScript, I'm good at Ruby, I don't know anything about Common Lisp, for instance. I'm just trying to learn, and it's so amazing at mapping my existing knowledge to what will make sense in the thing I'm trying to learn. And so I'm actually excited about that path for people, and I share it with people. I go, it's free. If you have Claude Code or whatever coding agent you have that runs in your terminal, you can use this tool and it will evaluate your work, and you should spend some time doing this because it will make you a better better at computers in general. But then I thought, does this same system work if I wanted to become an EMT or a nurse and like issue me like, oh, a patient comes in, this is what they're complaining of, like I'm like, man, the things that we have available to us as an LLM, like this infinite system, and it can actually look at our evaluation frameworks and check what we've done and said, okay, you've got the basics down, you're certified, you move on. Now when you're a black belt and you're running agents full time, I do think it actually takes more programming knowledge to run agents the way that you do than it does to handwrite it, because it's hard to keep track of you have to know how to break a problem down like that. That's really you have to have done it a lot.
I wrote a whole blog article about how to design your agents, and I mentioned that once, but design your agents and your instructions like a very knowledgeable idiot.
Very knowledgeable.
You only know active record. That's it. And then another agent is active record optimizations. And then another agent is database query optimizations that are inferred from active record configurations. They're all going to work together, right? And they're going to take a subset of the context and just going to study that. Right?
And they move layer by layer.
An architect. No. I need a DDD architect, and I need this architect, and a microservice, and all of these things. My general Claude Code setup has about 38 agents.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I gotta go, man. I gotta go. But oh man, can we do this again?
We can definitely do this again. Yeah. Let's do this again. I would love, we should do another, like maybe we do like a live demo of some of these things working, because that would be really cool. Definitely awesome. So before we go, I ask, you kind of already said what junior, you're kind of, what I always ask is, what advice would you give somebody coming out of college, junior agent, not junior agent, junior engineer? What advice would you give today? Because that's the number one question that I get at any.
You're not going to find a job. You're not going to find a job. Build something, and that's it. Build something, take risks. Live in your parents' house. Spend money on marketing, because personal branding, all of this is gone. You're done for. Or learn plumbing or something.
Wow.
It's a dead industry. It's a dead industry.
Well, it's definitely going to change, but I kind of agree with the build something thing. I think it's you kind of have to be an entrepreneur now, or you do the forward deployed thing. I think there's still going to be a lot of that enterprise sales, like being a sales engineer.
Yeah, of course. Yes, absolutely. That's, I can't predict where it's going to be honest. I can't predict where it's going to be. I mean, Claude just came out with Claude agents. I don't know if you've heard of that one,
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, you just tell it what to do and it spins up another agent.
It's crazy.
So now I've been using it with my model. Start this GitHub issue. Start this GitHub issue. Start this GitHub issue. Start this one. Start this one. I got 15 of them, and then it pops up when one of them needs an input or instruction. So my productivity is now 20x. It used to be 10x. That wasn't enough. Now it's 20x. I can do way more. I can do the work of an entire engineering team.
And if you're an idea person too, like if you're a really big idea person, it's an incredible time, because for me, I just feel like I can't stop building. So it's been incredible. And then the final question is, any book recommendations?
The Phoenix Project.
The Phoenix Project. I got that one. That's a great one.
Phoenix Project, because it's a process problem, and because it's a process problem, humans are the limiting aspect in any organization. They're stuck in their ways. They don't know how to make hard decisions. And usually, if you're the shit disturber and the change agent, you will, you'll end up on the bad side of all executives. You will have to. That's just what
You
it
will
is.
have to. Well,
You'll
I
have to
love it.
piss people off because people like, comfort. But yeah, Phoenix Project is a fantastic book.
I'll put that in the show notes. And then kind of the last thing that I think that if we also do a follow-up, we didn't even get to this, is how the organizations, how people have to completely think about their organizations differently. That should be our follow-up episode, but I will definitely let you go to your next call. Oshri, it was great meeting you.
Have a good one, sir. I appreciate it.